Join me as we talk 7 players you have to trade for before week 7. This is going to be great no matter your record. We've got players to trade for that are coming off bad weeks, players to trade for that are injured, and some of these guys you may want to trade away if you've got a bad record, but we're going to break that down as well. And we're going to start with our first player here, Bill Krosky Merritt. This is the perfect storm of a buy low candidate. We see he had 5.8 fantasy points. That obviously is not good. 61 rush yards, 1 reception, not the best game he's ever had. Let's just be honest there. But the rush attempts, 17 rush attempts. That kind of volume in this Commanders offense will yield results. Now, Chicago, unfortunately, it was a rainy game. The Commanders offense struggled a little bit. They had some explosive pass plays, so they wasn't able to capitalize on this easier matchup. But the rush share is good. The attempts are amazing. If we knew he was going to get 17 attempts every week, we'd start him every single week. And we look at this schedule, and it's absolutely amazing. He plays Dallas, Kansas City, Seattle. In the fantasy football playoffs, one of the best available against the Giants, the Eagles, and the Dallas Cowboys. Absolutely amazing schedule across the board. He's played some of the toughest matchups. Now, he's only had one, let's call it one amazing week. Week 1, he was good as well. But that 27 points week 5, that's what really made him stand out. But with only 6 points this week against Chicago, I'm sending offers. Now, I would wait one day. Don't send a trade offer today if you're watching this on Tuesday. But Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, send a good offer. This is someone that can win you leagues. You actually have to buy low coming off a poor performance. But 17 rush attempts. If he's going to get 17 rush attempts against all of these teams, he's going to be amazing for fantasy football. So this is the first player I'm sending trades offer for this week. I have a couple Monday night players in this video, and the next one is going to be James Cook. We see the last 2 games really has not been good. He had 5 points against the Patriots, 8 points against the Falcons. And we scroll over to his yardage here, 87 rush yards. That means no receptions, unfortunately, 87 rush yards. The targets, 0 targets. We saw Ray Davis score a touchdown, but he's played 2 pretty tough teams. Now, the fantasy football playoffs is difficult. He plays New England again, and he plays Cleveland. Those are 2 pretty bad matchups for the fantasy football playoffs. Right now, if someone has James Cook, they may be 4-2, but also if they lost any of these matchups, they are 500 or maybe even worse, because they probably did lose week 5 and 6 with James Cook actively hurting their lineup. You see week 7, he's on bye. And when players are on bye, they are a little bit cheaper because people need players they can play right now. This person is probably on a 2-game loss streak. They're trying to figure things out. So you can send some offers, send a good offer for James Cook, absorb the bye, and lock him into your lineup for the rest of the season. And using some of that same logic, I want to trade for Josh Allen as well. These last 2 weeks, 20 points is a down week for Josh Allen. It's not really for everybody else, but for him, it definitely is. He's had a couple of bad weeks this year with 11 points against the Jets and 17 points against the Falcons. He's only been a top 6 quarterback twice this whole season, and you absolutely need more than that if he's going to deliver that draft value. But now he heads to the bye. He heads into 2 hard matchups. The fantasy football playoffs is somewhat difficult. If you do need a quarterback, though, I think Josh Allen is a good person to trade for. He's been struggling again a little bit based on the value, but now you can buy him low. You can buy him at maybe the price of like a 5th round pick. That could be something you could buy him for. So I would look to see what can you try to get for Josh Allen for your team, especially if you have one of these quarterbacks, maybe someone that you drafted late that's been overperforming. You can do a swap, maybe send them a little bit extra player. Maybe if you got someone off the bench, you can trade for him and see if you can get Josh Allen for your team, especially heading into the bye week where he's going to be a little bit cheaper. More bye week advantages here, trading for Derrick Henry. And look, so far, the schedule they've played against running backs has been extremely difficult. They've played Cleveland, they've played Detroit, they've played Houston, they've played the Rams, who have been dominant against the running back position, and he's only had 2 decent weeks. Week 1, he was amazing. He was like Derrick Henry, we drafted him first round, awesome. But then week 6, he finally showed up again. Between those 2, he completely disappeared with fumbles, poor yards per carry, poor attempts. And this week with Cooper Rush, he finally had a good week, 122 rush yards. He was efficient. He was doing what Derrick Henry does. And look at this schedule. So far this season, again, he's played a pretty difficult schedule. But after this, it gets so much easier. They play Chicago. They play Miami. They play Minnesota. Game against Cleveland. They play the Jets, the Bengals, the Steelers, the Bengals again. This is a schedule that gets you to the fantasy football playoffs. And the guy that has Derrick Henry may have even got unlucky week 1 and could even be 0-6 with this stretch of performances. So they may not be able to hold Derrick Henry through the bye. So you can kind of start with a low ball offer. That's what I would do. Send a low ball offer for Derrick Henry, someone that plays this week. So obviously not a Bills player, but try to get Derrick Henry for your team, because after this bye week, when Lamar Jackson comes back, they will be cooking. He's going to help you get to the playoffs. Next is Javonte Williams. But if you've been enjoying this content, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are out here every week providing value, looking at the stats and data to help you in your league. And I think trading for Javonte Williams is a great move this week. Main reason, he's coming off a down week. He had 29 yards. He had 5 receptions, which is awesome to see. That reception floor is great, but he just really couldn't get anything going on the ground. He had 47 snaps. All the percentages are solid across the board. 13 rush attempts, but he had most of the rush share. They just had to pass a lot in this game, and George Pickens was great. They had a couple wide receivers have great games, but this was just a game where they really need to pass. And he has a couple hard games coming up. He does have a harder fantasy football playoff schedule, but overall, this has been a guy that's been great this entire season, even against some tougher matchups like Green Bay. Not the easiest matchup against the Jets, and coming off a bad week, one bad week is all it takes for people to panic. So I love the schedule. We love everything about this game. The 5 receptions. We love the snaps. We love his participation. The red zone work in this game. He had 3 red zone attempts. No goal line attempts in this game, but the red zone work. Some of the best in the entire league. You can see he's top 12 there. Goal line carries, he's 10th. Targets, he's 3rd. For running backs, 3 red zone targets in this game. Javonte Williams has everything we need. It's just a bad game. That's all it was, just a bad game. And like we talked about earlier with some of the players like Bill Krosky-Merritt, you have to buy low to actually buy low. You can't buy low off like a 12-point week. You have to buy low when they score under 10, and you have to trust that they're going to bounce back. Javonte Williams will bounce back, so I'm going to wait till Wednesday, maybe Thursday, kind of wait a little bit later in the week and send a trade to try to get Javonte Williams for my team. Next player to trade for. Now, this is only if you have a good record. Now, if you've got a bad record and you have Hampton on your team, this trade advice applies as well, because you just want to flip it around and look for someone to trade him to. You're probably not making playoffs with Hampton, because when we look at the schedule, we see they have a Week 12 bye, and their projection right now for Omarion Hampton is that he's going to miss more than the 4-week minimum. So when a player goes to IR, if you didn't know, they have to miss a minimum of 4 weeks. And this week against the Colts, if you didn't know, on IR, you have to miss a minimum of 4 weeks. And if he missed week 6, he's going to miss week 7, week 8, week 9. He has to, because they put him on the IR. But then he's also projected to potentially miss week 10, 11, and they have the bye week, week 12. So the expectation is that you might get him back around week 13. So if you've got a bad record, obviously you can't wait to week 13. Playoffs start week 15. You're not making playoffs if you hold Omarion Hampton till then. So go to a player who's undefeated or has a great record or is at least in a good playoff hunt and can afford to take on the risk of Omarion Hampton. So that's what I would do. And if you are one of those teams, I would certainly trade for him. If you have a good bench, if you can send him someone like Jordan Mason, send him a mid player from your team to try to get Omarion Hampton, because the likelihood is he's not coming back till week 13. So there should be a mutual swap where the guy with a great record, or the guy with a deep bench, is getting a player that can help him win a championship week 13, 14, 15 in the fantasy football playoffs when he's got a good schedule. And the person with Hampton who's been struggling gets a player they can play right now. So while it does suck to send away Hampton, who finally had some breakout games of 25 and 27 points, if you've got a bad record, you should be trading him away. If you got a good record, you have to be trying to get him for your team, especially for some of those bench players that you're not even playing. The next player I want to look at, another injured player, is Emeka Egbuka. So far this season, he's been a league winner. Without the injury, he's an absolute league winner. He's got 3 weeks over 20 points. He's got no weeks under 10 points, no weeks under 12 points. He's been absolutely electric since week 1. And I'm not going to count week 6 against them when you take an injury. I'm not going to count that as a bad game. Obviously, you can't score a lot of fantasy points if you get injured halfway through. But we look at the schedule. He's not going to IR. That's kind of what the understanding is right now. So he could come back any week. We're assuming he's going to miss Detroit. He's probably going to miss this game against the Saints. Then they have their bye week. So week 10 is the perfect week for him to come back. Mike Evans could return this week. Chris Godwin could be back as well. So he could return to an environment we have not seen before. There is some slight risk there. And we have a very tough schedule, playing Atlanta, playing Carolina, and playing Miami in the fantasy football playoffs. So there are some headwinds here with players returning and the tough fantasy football playoff schedule. But if he's on a team, and most likely this team is doing well if they drafted Emeka Egbuka, but that doesn't guarantee they've been winning. So if they do have a little bit more of a bad record, I would be trying to trade for him a lot like Hampton, where if you've got a bad record, trade Emeka Egbuka like he's scoring 20 points, like he's scoring 23 points, and get an amazing player for your team in return and say, hey, you can wait the 3 weeks and then get your 20 points per week. Give me someone I can play now. So that's the strategy if you have them and you have some, you've been unlucky and you haven't been winning. But if you don't have him for your team and you have a good record, I would send a trade, send a low ball offer, send a player, again, like a Jordan Addison, like a Jordan Mason, someone that's scoring about 12 points per game, and say, hey, you can have this guy to play right now, That's going to help you out, and I want this player who's going to help me win a championship. Before you send any of these trades, analyze them first in the WalterPicks app. You can see I've got a synced league here. I've got my team. I pick the players I want to trade away, the players I want to trade for, and I click Analyze Trades. It'll show you the rest of the season, the fantasy football playoffs, and any specific week you want to look at. Week 7, I do lose out, but for the rest of the season in the fantasy playoffs, I win. It'll also show you this bar chart as well with the players listed, your best player bonus, and who's winning each trade. So make sure you don't fleece yourself. Analyze them first in the WalterPicks app. You get a free trial in the profile with code NOBS.